What does gutsy mean to you, Nicole?
Gutsy means action. People be all about the talk. Nobody takes action. Gutsy is about taking action.
Welcome to the Gutsy Podcast, the show where you learn how to own what you actually want and shift the mind junk that's been holding you back. I'm Laura Ora, keynote speaker, coach, and your guide to help you get clarity, build confidence, and make the gutsy moves that change your life. Each week, I'm going to help you simplify things by teaching you how to get out of your head while stepping into action. This way you can achieve all those life shifts that you've been overthinking. Your desire, that drives you. But gutsy, that's what gets it done. What if your income isn't actually the problem? If you've ever thought, I just need to make more money and everything is going to be fine, then this conversation is going to shake things up in the best of ways. I sat down with Nicole Stanley to talk about debt, financial freedom, and why your earning power might not actually be the real issue. Instead, it often comes down to what you believe you're allowed to have. In this episode, Nicole is sharing the biggest mindset shifts that has helped her and her clients become debt-free, practical budgeting strategies that don't require you to give up everything that you love, and how to release the guilt that quietly sabotages your wealth. If you've been stuck in a cycle of make more, spend more, or constantly second-guessing your financial choices, then this episode is going to help you see money in a whole new way, one that creates safety, freedom, and joy. Nicole is the owner and head money coach at Arise Financial Coaching, where she provides shame-free, accessible financial education to empower women. After paying off her debt and growing her family's net worth through investing, she turned her passion into helping hundreds of women and couples get out of debt, save, and build wealth. Her work has been featured on Good Morning America, Business Insider, Time, and ABC News. Now, listen, if money is on the mind and you are wanting to rebuild and rewire your relationship with money, then I've got something very simple and palatable for you to dig into. Inside the Gutsy Collective, one of the on-demand classes that you have available to you is called the Gutsy Money Reset. This gives you the opportunity to rewire your relationship with money by healing old patterns, ditching scarcity, and building a financial foundation that is rooted in power, trust, and expansion. You're going to learn how to stop the spiral by learning techniques to get out of survival mode. And you're going to learn the energy of receiving, being able to receive and hold money. You can get instant access to the Gutsy Money Reset by joining the Gutsy Collective at lauraora.com. All right, my friend, I love Nicole's practical, no-fluff budgeting strategies and just her entire approach about money. So let's get into this. Nicole, welcome to the Gutsy Podcast.
I'm so happy to be here.
Yes, we have not yet taken this angle with money on the Gutsy Podcast yet. We've talked about saving, we've talked about investing, we've talked about money mindset, your history with money, which I'm sure a little bit of that will come up here too. But we've never taken the angle of how to pay off debt on your current salary. So I'm just stoked to dig into this with you.
Me too. I mean, when it comes to paying off debt, I think that everybody's looking for the stories that are more like out of the ordinary. And I prefer to just keep it in the ordinary because that's where most of us are right now.
Oh my, that's a headline in its own. People are looking for the out of the ordinary, but most of us are in the ordinary. So let's go there. Amazing. So you've done this. You've paid off your debt on a fixed salary. Tell us your story. How did you do that? What happened leading up to that? Bring us up to speed.
So when I look back at my biggest debt-free story, it really was when I first got married. So I got married very young, and my dad was the type of person who wanted to knock some sense into me, meaning, you need to be more financially stable, blah, blah, blah. And I am like your classic Latina daughter, which is I want to be the best daughter, but I also have some big I'll prove you wrong energy. So I remember when I got married at 22 and I was starting to feel very stressed about money, but it was something that I had to keep internal because I didn't want my family to know that I was worried about money because I knew I was marrying the right character, even if we weren't in the right financial place yet. So we got married young, we weren't making a ton of money because we were right out of college. So my husband was a church worker, which meant he was making no money. And I decided after school I was going to start with an entry level sales job. And I remember that I started to get regular panic attacks while we were planning our wedding. And the reason was because, we had our friends helping with the flowers and the cake and all of those things, and the numbers still weren't adding up. And the reason was because we were trying to do a wedding on a third of the average annual cost of a wedding at the time. So it makes sense why I was stressed. But I remember looking at my fiance at the time and saying, if we can't afford a wedding where our friends are doing the flowers, how the hell are we going to afford a life together? And that was when we decided that we were going to start to learn everything we could about personal finance, about money, money management, couples and money. And that was when I became, I would call myself like a personal finance nerd, because it was the first time in my life that even though we didn't have huge incomes, personal finance made me feel like I had control over my life for the first time, because I grew up in a household that was very much around, if you don't become a doctor, an attorney, or a engineer, you're basically screwed. And I wanted to really not live that story and show my dad that, when you marry the right person, when you've got your mind on right, like you can fix things. So we started taking those classes together, and we just became crazy about paying off debt. We paid off $30,000, which for us at the time was one of our annual salaries. So that was a really big milestone for us. I know kind of debt is very relative, like how much is a lot, how much is a little. It depends on how long you've had debt, what you make, and your debt tolerance. But for me, that was like, oh my gosh, this is so much debt. So we paid it off in 10 months, and we really used that momentum to say, okay, what else can we do with money? And that really began this decade-long growth journey where we would end up paying off that debt, buying a fix and flip, hitting coast fire at a very young age. I became a stay-at-home mom for a little bit. I did not like that. And then I came back to work actually with helping people with their money, because before I knew financial coaching was an industry, I just wanted to help more people make a kind of a larger than life plan. Whatever their goal was, I wanted to take that goal. I wanted to up it a little bit. I wanted to help people see that they could do more than they envisioned with their money. And it became like a drug. Like, let's be real. I love seeing people do that same kind of planning, that same surprising themselves with their money. And that's how I launched my company that's been around now for almost 6 years. We've helped over 600 clients, and still not shutting up about it today. But that's my story.
Rightfully so. I mean, you walked the walk, you figured things out that worked, and now you're empowering other, couples and women to do this. I mean, applaud, because we're just not taught financial health. We're not taught how to, I mean, unless you grew up in a house that had a great financial experience. I know personally I did not. I know I'm also not alone. So unless you had it mirrored to you, most of the time in school, it's not being taught. You have to like go out and figure it out on your own, or you have to go through some shit to like figure it out the hard way. So I love that you're helping to normalize something that feels very heavy for so many people.
Yeah, I think that one of the biggest aha moments for me was this realization that everybody is just mimicking whatever socioeconomic status their parents have, because we can never rise above where our parents brought us without intentional effort. It's almost impossible. So, whatever mindset that your parents have about money, right? The average person actually decides their money mindset at age 7. They found this out at a study at Cambridge. And so, really, we're just mirroring our parents unless we do something intentional to start learning about money on our own. And I say that not to sound like doomsday-ish, but rather to just normalize the fact that if your parents aren't wealthy, you're probably not wealthy. And if you want to be wealthy, you have to start to learn something different. And that takes intentional effort, right? Nobody just wakes up saying, oh, wow, I just like think about money differently now, right?
All of a sudden, it just dawned on me, and everything is good now.
Yes. Yeah.
When you say it takes intentionality, 1,000% agree. What does that translate into? Like, what are some of those first steps to start to break that connection to what you've known about money?
I mean, the first thing is, I think, realizing that everything that you believe about money is just that. It is a belief. And a belief in its nature means it's not a fact, right? Most of our experience with money and our skills with money come down to our financial beliefs. And so, if you can first realize that everything you believe about money is either something you've witnessed, something you picked up from someone else, that actually allows you to see that your beliefs are a little more malleable than maybe you thought before, because often we see our beliefs as fixed. We see them as, this is just the way it is, right? I am an artist, therefore I'll be poor. I'm a teacher, therefore I'll be poor. I'm just somebody that has debt, or the person who goes through a nice neighborhood and says, must be nice, right? Mm-hmm. Those are beliefs. They aren't necessarily true. And if you can understand that and kind of let that sit, then it gives you permission to start to say, are there other beliefs that might actually serve me better than the ones that I have? Or are there other things that I haven't done with my money yet that could actually get me better results than what I'm doing with my money right now? And that really like opens this catalyst, I believe, for learning and having more of an open mindset with money. I would say the biggest difference I see with clients is that when they come to me, everybody has a fixed mindset about money. It's, this is the way it is. These are my results. This is who I am. By the end of coaching, my goal is to always give people a rogue mindset with money, which is, I'm always learning new things. I'm better than I thought, right? And there's even more that I don't know. If you can have those beliefs, I really believe that anything is possible in terms of financial goals, because if you believe it, then you can start to learn it, right? And you get to that tactical, but you have to first break out of the fixed mindset.
Yeah. And what I'm hearing you say is really stepping into the space of curiosity.
Yes.
Like really like playing with it. It helps to separate you as an identity from your money belief or your money story or everything that you've known to be true up until this point about money. Because like you said, like we just take on this identity and then it's fixed. And then what do? We repeat the same stuff.
Yep.
And then we have the same complaints and we have the same conversations with friends or our spouse. And then we're just forever in this hamster wheel, looking at other things and other people saying, well, it must be nice.
Right.
There's another thing that you mentioned earlier that I think we have to bring up. And it's, I don't want anybody to know. You mentioned this about your dad. Yeah. There's often a lot of shame around money, especially when there's debt, especially when it might look like you're being irresponsible or when something has happened. How do we start to open up about something that typically can feel very shameful and we just don't want people to know?
I think that that's a very good point that you picked out, because shame around money is very universal for women. And I think that there's a lot of cultural factors why. There's a lot of studies about this, and there's a lot of, even some say, engineered marketing that is towards women in terms of how we spend and that we spend more and blah, 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 right? But at the end of the day, many women, when we're not where we want to be financially, we carry shame. And I will also say that when we are where we want to be financially, we also carry shame, because rich women are, portrayed culturally as being bitches, right? Think Cruella de Vil, Snow White's witch. Whenever we see in, usually in literature, a wealthy woman, she's evil in some way. And so we have a lot of morality mixed in our view about money, right? So when we see ourselves in debt, we see that as a moral failing or a character failing. And one of the most important aspects of money that, if any person, right, male or female, but I think this is particularly powerful for women, is to know that money and financial problems, right, they are amoral when it comes to what they mean about us. And if we can actually let that sink for a second, which is, whether I have a lot of money or I have a little bit of money, it actually doesn't affect who I am as a person. Does it affect my worth? Right. And all of us say this out loud. Like we would say like, oh, the someone who's poor and somebody who's rich hold the same value. Right. But then we give ourselves a completely different playbook. Um, and I think that if you can say to yourself, you know, whatever financial failures, financial status, financial problems, or financial wins that I have, they don't affect my character. Rather, they're problems outside of me, not within me, right? If I can see them as problems outside of me that I'm a smart woman, I can fix, then I think that that actually brings down the shame because there's nobody in this world that won't encounter a financial problem. Even the wealthiest people in the world encounter financial problems. And so instead of seeing every financial problem as a reflection of who we are as people, but rather problems that we're smart enough to solve and that we want to solve, then we can depersonalize and begin to make traction. But when we hold our financial problems as like, this is who I am, it's just a whole messier, more difficult game, right? So,
Yes.
so I think that that's like one way I think that I see shame is that shame is often it's a sign that we've turned our financial problems into problems within ourselves. Like we've personalized it, and it is a money is just like paper. It is coins. We made it up as a society. Like it's literally it holds no moral value or character value to who we are. And if you can realize that for a second, then all of a sudden you can be like, oh, yeah, well, I just want to learn about investing because I work really hard, you know, to get money. I want to learn about it. And same thing with debt, right? Like I have debt. I don't like paying interest. I'd like to pay less of it. So I'm going to figure out how to get out of debt. Like it's a very different game, low pressure, low stakes, in my opinion.
Such a great reframe. Again, more identity. Man, we just wrap up our identities in our money situation, don't we? Like the more I'm hearing you talk, I'm like, it's a freaking identity situation. It's not the
Mm-hmm.
money.
Yeah.
It's the identity, it's the belief system and the habits that tend to follow it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
we have shame, and so then we feel bad about ourselves, and then we repeat the same things that got us in the position that we're in, or we make it bigger, or it, hold up. Like as you were talking, I'm like, oh, what if the money was just like a brand new Lego set that you got? Like, okay, maybe it doesn't come with such a clean instruction manual, but you've got these pieces, and we actually have some flexibility to create some different outcomes with this Lego set. And
Yeah.
that Lego set is not me. That Lego set is not you.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a thing that needs to be solved.
Yep.
Look, 20 years worth of financial background and 10-minute conversation, you've shifted a shit ton in me already.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. So, okay, debt. Debt also gets a bad rap, but debt is also leverage, right? Not all debt is bad. Nobody loves to be in debt, right? Because it can feel heavy. So when you're feeling kind of upside down, not sure where to start,
Mm.
how do you begin to chip away or pay off debt? Because I know there's a lot of different strategies, a lot of different ways. What do you recommend?
Well, I'm a big believer in not one particular method of paying off debt, but actually a different mindset entirely. So a lot of people, they kind of go around, they'll be like, well, how should I do this? How should I do this? And what they're looking for is like, who's got the magic bullet that I'm going to do? Right. And one of the things we do with our clients is instead of saying, this is a debt payoff method, we'd like you to do it. Right. We actually focus on here are your options. Here are the different options you have with paying off your debt. And those include popular methods, right? Something like the debt snowball, where you pay off your smallest amount owed to your highest amount owed, or the debt avalanche, which is where you choose your highest interest debt. You pay that one off first, right? There's also something called the Kiyosaki method, which is where you actually pick your largest payments and you say, I want to get rid of the biggest payment I have. So that way it opens up more cash flow. Like, and then there's even other methods that are called the emotional baggage method, which is, I took on this debt. I had one client who was in an MLM that just really, it was like a horrible experience, horrible cultish experience for her. And she just hated that debt, right?
Yep.
So that's the debt to pick first, right? Like my goal as a financial coach is not to tell you, whoa, mathematically, this one's going to be the best. But rather, I mean, they all come down to one thing, which is you got to put your debts in some sort of order. You got to pay your minimums on the other ones while you focus on one at a time. But the order that you go in, I prefer to pick the one that excites you the most. Because if you look at a debt payoff method and you say, but that one is the, like, I get it. This card is less that I have, but this card is this. And you know what I mean? Like, pay that one first. I don't really care. What I care about is your commitment and your excitement with your debt payoff plan, not that you do everything by the books. Obviously keeping with those principles, which is you pay your minimums on your other debts while you go more ham on the other one.
Okay. So give your debt in order.
Yes. You got to pick your order and stick to it.
Stick to it. And then choose the one that essentially feels right to you. I mean, the goal is to eventually pay them all off, right? So in one order or another, that's going to happen. That's the goal. Yeah. But to pick one that either feels the best, excites you the most, gives you the most fulfillment, feels like this is doable. Yes. It doesn't matter which one it is, just pick one and then follow that method. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Yeah. And I think that the point you bring up about it feeling doable is important because that is a big amount of feedback I'll give people. I'll be like, listen, like, I know, like, you really want to do this one first. But like, I might be like, listen, I just think that's going to take you 3 years. And I'd rather you have a few more, I want more wins under your belt before then. So it's going to take us 3 years anyway, then let's pay off these other 3 debts before, right? So pick something that's tangible. If you can't feel the impact within 3 months, most people give up.
Because they want to see the shift. You want to feel the relief. You want to see that number go down.
Yeah.
I know that I put a heavy emphasis on your current salary, because I think sometimes people think that they need to make more money to be able to pay off the debt. What is your thought and take on that?
Well, as most things, it's a little nuanced because there are some people that, I always say every financial problem is fixable. It's just super important to know what problem you're fixing. So the only caveat I would give to that is that there are 5 essential problems that anyone can have with their money. It's either a true spending problem, which is that they're, what they swipe is just maybe too large for their current income. The second is a fixed expense problem. That's like when your housing or your healthcare have become too bloated for your current income. The third one is that, let's say that you actually don't have anything crazy in your fixed expenses, or your spending is actually pretty in line. This is one of the hardest things to tell people, but I find that they're relieved when they know. But there are true income problems, which is, no matter how much we adjust your spending, or if you live in your mom's basement, right? Like, I mean, most people aren't going to do that, but like, we can't really make the numbers number. And that might mean you need to look elsewhere for work or start to think about how you can bring in extra income. That's not most people in America, but I will say that is one of the options. Then the other 2 is that you can have a true money management problem. That's when there's plenty of money to coming in to achieve your goals and your spending, but you just don't have a system that captures it. And then the 5th one is that you can have a financial strategy problem. And this is when people have extra money and they have a system, but they're not putting it towards the right things in the right order. So this would be somebody who, let's say you've got 100,000 in a checking account, or like a savings account, or a checking. I have had people that do that too. And you're like, oh my God, I'm so worried about retirement. It's like, well, yeah, because you got 100 grand sitting in a checking account, right? Like, that's losing money every year. That's a financial strategy problem, which is you're not putting your money in the right order, right? Or even you have 100 grand and then you've got 15 grand of credit card debt, but you don't want to touch it. Financial strategy problem. So with that in mind, I believe that on your current salary, if you don't have an income problem, you are able to find at least a few $100s every month to put towards debt. And I do believe that I like to be really specific about the only debt that you should feel more urgency to pay off, and that is high interest debt. So I don't love the idea of everybody with a student loan under 4% freaking out, because they shouldn't, right?
Yeah.
Everybody with a mortgage freaking out because they have this word debt. Those are not the debts that I'm worried about or I want you to be freaking out about. The only debt that I think you should have a fire under your butt about is high interest debt. Usually that's high interest consumer debt, credit cards, things like that, where they're charging you 20 to 30% every month. That's where things can get out of control. And that's where I like to focus our energy when we're talking about, how are we going to pay this off? How are we going to prioritize it? But the other debts, you don't need to have that level of focus, right? Of I got to get out of these because they're not high interest.
See, that's what I was talking about earlier. Like, not all debt is bad debt because, like, your home, I mean, it's your home, right? Like, very few people are paying cash for their house. It often comes with quote unquote debt. But I love that you pointed out like that, like, you don't have to get out from underneath of that, right? Like, that's not where the focus is. It doesn't mean that you can't pay off your mortgage sooner. There's really great techniques. I know my mortgage company has a calculator when I log in that says, like, if I pay an extra $50 a month or $100 a month, it shows you how much interest you save. And it is jarring.
It is. Yeah. It's insane. Yeah.
Like, even just an extra $50 takes off like 4 years of the mortgage. And I'm like, what? Like, okay, that's a whole conversation for another day. But
yeah.
I love that you pointed that out and say, like, let's take care of these, like, they might look like smaller dogs, but they're actually the bigger dogs with those with those high interest things, or something where you're having to pay weekly on something or bi-weekly on something. Like, let's start chipping away at those. When it comes to choosing one and starting to pay, how much extra beyond the minimum payment? Now, I know that this differs with everyone's income, but is there a general rule of thumb or some guidance you can give us? How much extra do you recommend paying on something to help start to bring those things down?
Well, it's funny because I'm a bit of an extremist. So I'm of the mindset in my personal life, and I'll say this because I'm actually very different from my clients, but I I pick one financial goal always. And I try to teach my clients this, but most people don't like to have just one goal. But I like to have one goal. Whatever my goal is, I do that goal and then I finish that goal because that gives me a sense of completion. Where if I have 3 or 4 goals going on at a time, I feel very incomplete. I feel like I'm not moving as fast as I could be towards one goal, which means it doesn't mean that I won't do those other things, but it means that I'm willing to put them in a priority order. And that is, it's not something everybody's willing to do. I'll tell you that, even though, okay, you can get there a lot faster when you don't split your energy. So, one of the ways I help my clients decipher how much they should be spending in their extra debt payments is I help them discover what their true momentum money number is. And I call momentum money is a name that I call money that is left over after you've saved and spent for all of your spending and lifestyle for that month. So what that means is, not every bit of spending that you're going to do throughout the year happens every month, but that doesn't mean that every month you shouldn't be planning for that. So, I'm a believer in we have a place where your fun money, vacation money is going that's actually outside of your checking account automatically every single month, because just because you don't spend it doesn't mean you won't need it. And usually you need those in larger amounts. But I want to make sure that after we're funding your lifestyle, that there's something left called momentum money, because that's the money that you can feel good about sending towards your goals because you haven't foregone these other aspects of your life. Our minimum for every client, and this might sound a little crazy to some people, but I make sure every client has at least $1,000 every month going towards their goals, if not more than that. So most of our clients actually make, well over 6 figures, and that usually ends up being 2,000, 3,000, because that type of momentum feels exciting. And then they're able to bust through those debt-free goals faster, because I haven't found anybody who's like, I just like love paying like an extra I know there's a lot of people on the internet who are like, every dollar matters. But I found that when it comes to human action, a really big part of that is actually like adrenaline and fun. And so to keep you engaged in an activity for a long amount of time, I have to make it rewarding for you. And so if you're like, well, every single month I've got $30,000 worth of high interest debt and I'm sending an extra 150, it's just like bleh. right? Like I'd rather be like, yeah, I'm sending 1,200 every single month and I'm gonna be done with it in 8 months. Like, I mean, I don't know if I did the math right on that, but like, you know what I mean?
We get you. We're not going to hold you to it.
Yes. But like, I mean, but like finding that extra money, that's where I find people get motivated. I'm laughing at my math on that. I thought 10,000. But anyways, we want to help you feel excited.
You never did say that that 30 grand was all one thing.
There you go.
One of the cards was 10 grand. Now it's done in 8 months.
Yeah. Math is my job, everybody.
Full circle. Willpower alone is not going to create lasting financial change. Inside the Gutsy Money Reset, you're going to learn how to create sustainable habits that support the life that you want. And did I mention that we're going to simplify this? It doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be messy. In fact, it's the most simplified systems and tools that help you stick with these new habits. And of course, we can't forget about the energy here. I'm going to teach you how to bring intention into your financial rituals so that they feel supportive, not stressful. If you've been looking for a simple, gentle, yet also I'm really ready to make some financial changes type of class, the Gutsy Money Reset is your next move. You can get instant access to this on-demand class by joining the Gutsy Collective at lauraora.com. So you're really like the all-in method. Like let's almost like gamification.
Gamification, yeah. And the reason is because I have ADHD and most of my clients have ADHD. And I don't know, it's just not fun. Like that's how I do things. And I find that most people, they'll be like, yay. And then I guarantee this. I guarantee it every single time. People will be like, I feel good. I feel good. I'm going to be putting 300 extra. And I'll be like, I don't know. Like, let's see what else we can do. Like, where else we can find extra money that wouldn't take from your lifestyle. And I always will get an email from, because I've worked with hundreds at this time, where people be like, I'm really discouraged because I'm only putting a few extra $100 towards my debt. And it's like, I'm just thinking to myself, no shit. I know. It's exactly why I want to make sure that your financial plan exceeds your expectations from day one, because then you say, oh yeah, this is worth it. Like I'm going to keep coming back for this dopamine hit when it comes to dealing with my money.
That changes the energy around the money altogether. I think having someone like you in our back pocket is empowering, because sometimes when you're doing on your own and you're kind of dabbling around and a little bit extra here, a little bit extra there, I mean it does help, right? I mean it's not hurting.
It does help. It does help, yeah.
But it's not getting you out of the situation that you want to be out from.
Yes.
So this kind of like swift kick in the pants of, do you want to get this done or not? Let's make some adjustments and dump a little extra in there, put a little bit more in there. I can't help but want to ask though, for those that maybe don't have that larger surplus to put towards it, maybe they are still in a tighter situation. Do you recommend cutting expenses elsewhere? Do you recommend bringing in more income? Like what's the best way to kind of expand that so that it's not taking forever?
I wish I could give like the one and done answer, because
I know it doesn't exist.
Yeah, I know. But there's the way I view it whenever I'm looking at a client's numbers, because we have this financial audit process we do, and I can see everything. I can see a story in numbers. And once we go through it, it becomes very clear to me, okay, there's 100 ways to solve this client's problem. But my job is not to tell her, well, this is the most efficient way to solve your problem, so I'm going to tell you to do it this way, right? My job is actually to read their energy as we talk about the solutions and notice, oh, this one made her excited. This one made her feel dread, right? This one felt overwhelming. These are the options that she's open to, because the worst thing I can do as a coach is actually project my values and who I am onto them, as the decisions I might make would be the same as them. And so half of it is saying, well, there might be a mom who, let's say she's a single mom, and the idea of her like spending or like having to get another bit of childcare to get more of an income, like take on a side hustle, which might be super easy for a single woman who doesn't have kids or doesn't have any pets or anything like that. She might jump at the idea of starting a side hustle, where the single mom might be like, oh my God, I can't, right? But then you might say to that mom, well, okay, but how do you might find out that she actually hates her job. And you find out, like, why do you hate your job? And it's like, oh, your boss like disrespects you and they don't appreciate you. You sound really unhappy at work. Oh, you sound underpaid, right? Like you find out that bit of the story, and then all of a sudden her answer becomes starting to seek value somewhere else in the marketplace, right? To get a different job. And that's her path, where the single woman, maybe her path is the side hustle, and then she builds a successful business. And then there's somebody else. There's a lot of people who they might have these larger spending line items that aren't actually for joy. Like they don't actually bring good things back to them. The example of this is there are so many women I know who are like compulsory gift givers, or they've gotten into this like very compulsory relationship with their female friends, where maybe like they're in all of their weddings and they go to all their bachelorette parties, or they, end up with their kids. They buy their kids like all these toys, and they're always there with the teacher gifts and giving all, to the neighbors and whatever. And you're like, oh, how much are you enjoying the holidays? How much are you enjoying birthdays? And they're like, oh my God, I'm so stressed. Like, I just have to do this. I have to do this. I have to do this. And it's like, well, what would happen? Why are we giving to this degree? Is it bringing you the same amount of joy? And it's like, no, I feel like I am balancing too many plates and da 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 da. And, when you talk to them about cutting an area of spending, they actually feel like, oh my God, I feel so liberated, right? By when I relieve myself of that obligation, like, and I've had that conversation so many times with different women. And so I think it's really actually like, it's very individual, because with each one of those client examples, there's another solution that would have helped them too. There's a million ways to skin a cat, but it's the path that's exciting them, bringing them energy, that they're actually going to go all in on. And that's the path, right? The only path that doesn't work is the one where you just say, looks like I'm stuck here.
Yeah. Just accepting it as your fate and who you are and the way things are always going to be. Yeah. No, I think that were really great examples for the listeners to like maybe see themselves in or through, or just to open up another door in their mind to be like, oh, I didn't think about it that way.
Yeah.
And that there is no right one way.
Yes.
Everybody's life is different. Everyone's financial situation is different. I mean, everything is different for everybody. So I love that you keep coming back to what lights you up, what makes you excited, what feels invigorating to tackle first. And let's go there. I don't even want to use the word tackle because that sounds aggressive. Like, what area do we want to focus on? Where do I want to liberate the most? Let's go there.
And as long, really, with the lens of, I think that you can have financial confidence in yourself when you know you're moving yourself forward. Yeah. That's really the measuring stick. Not how do I compare to my friend? How do I compare to this business owner? But my financial life is better and better every year. I'm improving it, right? And there's different ways to do that. You can you can cut spending, you can increase income, you can improve your strategies, you can, change your fix it. Like there's just like a million ways to do it. And the problem isn't the ideas. The problem is often that you're stuck in your story. You can't see other options, which is where most people are. And then maybe the stories or the options that you have tried haven't been the ones for you, but that doesn't mean there isn't another option out there.
So true. Are there any habits or things that you recommend that people do on a daily or weekly basis or monthly, whatever you recommend, habits that we can, really just incorporate into our life as we're working on paying off this debt?
I think that when it comes to your debt, it's important to have milestones where you can celebrate yourself and you can celebrate your progress. And those milestones should ideally happen at least once every 3 to 6 months. Because if you're telling yourself, well, I've got $120,000 in high interest student debt from med school, But until I pay off my debt, buy a new house, have 3 kids, start investing, open my own practice, then I'll be proud of myself. Right? Like, and I'm serious. Like, this is the
Yeah.
way most people are, not about being a doctor, but I just mean in general. Like, once they hit one goalpost, they're just straight to the next one. They're always looking at their, we're looking and comparing ourselves on the internet. And I speak from personal experience too. Like, we have to set milestones with our money that can be celebrated sometime in the short term, and that we need to have a plan for how we're going to celebrate them before we make the goal or when we make the goal. Example of this, I had a couple once I was working with where one of them had a huge debt tolerance, and he's a very successful business person. He makes a lot of money in his business. So, he would just turn and it would be like, and now I have 20 grand of high interest credit card debt. And I just closed this other really big deal, right? Like, and he just had this huge tolerance for risk. And that explained why he was such a successful business person. His wife did not have the same tolerance for risk. And it caused her so much pain and suffering because they were just not on the same page. And so one of the things that I noticed between them was that the goalposts for him were not the same goalposts for her. And so whatever excited him really disappointed her, or not disappointed, but it just wasn't what she was looking for. And then vice versa, what she wanted really made him feel deflated. And so part of the financial goals that we were working on and the reward system we set up were around pairing the things that excited him with the things also that made her feel more stability, so that they could do those things, right? And he also needed it to be quick, because if he had a quick goal, a boyfriend would show up. Like, boyfriend made it happen. He also has ADHD. And so that was one of the ways that we helped them come together, was instead of making the goals just be like, well, once we get here, we stop. It's okay, here's the goal. Here are the milestones over the next year that we need to hit to get there. And here are the respective rewards along the way, increasing in excitement. And I mean, I'll give an example. Like, for them, it was very different because he had this weird hobby that excited him that she just felt was like so wasteful. But when you look at actually like the percentages of their income, it was not really wasteful, but she just didn't really get it. He was a bike flip, like he would get bikes and flip them and stuff like that. And so he always felt like he had to keep that to the side, that he would like buy bikes and then fix them up and sell them. And it's like whatever. And so his bike budget got to increase too with each goal that hit. Right. That was like another part of it, not just like the family vacations and the family whatever, but that for him, and I'm telling you, this is like not that much money that was going in here, but the fact that he was like, oh my gosh, like my wife, like we're on the same page, she's not upset with me anymore. Like, you have to personalize it and find a way that it really ignites them. And they paid off over 6 figures credit card debt, together, and totally changed their lives around. But anyways, I just think that it has to be tangible. You have to tangibly feel the results and write out what they are, even if they're not just money results, right? Like, this is how much we paid towards X. It can also be spending related. Like, we took a all cash family vacation for the first time. Like, we always put it on debt, and we actually did it, right? Like, maybe your debt didn't go down as much, but that's one of the milestones of you paying off your debt. And so I think all the milestones matter, and it's about finding the ones that feel the most accomplished, like you feel the most accomplished doing them, rewarding yourself along the way. And the most important part is naming it. You have to name your goal before you go for it. Because most people are like, I'll just like look for like money I'm going to save every month. And I think to myself, I'm like, good luck with that. Like, it's not going to happen. I mean, I wouldn't say that to a client, but when people say that, I'm just like, it's not going to happen, because you're hoping it'll accidentally happen.
It has to be super intentional. What are some other ways to celebrate your milestones? Like, I heard you say, increasing the budget for his bike project, taking a cash paid family vacation. What are some other kind of celebratory ways that you see your clients or encourage your clients to do?
Well, I like to ask them often, what are the things that you don't allow yourself to do that you really want to do? Those are, I mean, they all aren't money related. Um, for some people, they will never allow themselves to like take a nap on a weekend or something. Or some parents might have, they might feel really overwhelmed with their kids and they have like family that helps them a lot or offers to help them, but they like never let them do it because they feel really guilty. And an example of a reward would be like, your sister's offered to watch your kids like a ton of times, but you always feel guilty ever taking the time away. What if the goal was that you took her up on it and you did a night away? And it's
Mm.
like, oh my God, I could never do that. Right. Like you have to always like get the thing that somebody says, oh my God, I could never. Like, I know that sounds like a weird thing, but that's always what I'm looking for in a client is something that kind of makes them like giggle with anticipation. Because if you do something too low stakes, they can just do it now. Like just do it now. Like what you ask your mom to do that all the time. Like just do it now. You have to do something that is a little, I either wouldn't allow myself to do it. I wouldn't spend the money like that because like I really like that, but that's not very smart to do. That's the little reward because then you kind of you feel that anticipation as you get closer to it. An example for my husband is like a big gym. He's like become a real fitness guy. He was not when we first got married. He is so sheepish about spending on it, but like he's like the most dedicated guy. Okay. And he won't spend anything. And I gifted him for something, a home gym budget, like this year. And it's so funny because like I've said a million times, like in our life, where I've been like, yeah, babe, just like get it. Just get it. It's okay. Like you're gonna use it. I trust you. You're getting it used. You're getting it on Facebook Marketplace. It's okay. And he just won't do it. Okay. And finally, I think it was his birthday this year. I was like, I am giving you blank for a home gym. And he was like, really? And in my heart, I'm like, I am get like the money, it's like it's not real. It's the permission that you
Yeah.
haven't given yourself. And now he's actually doing it because he's a funny like that. Like he's like, oh yeah, well, I have my budget now. Like I can do it. And I don't know. I think that you gotta pick something giddy like that. For me, I love to go out to eat alone because my kids, I don't want to waste money on good sushi because they don't eat sushi. And
Because I'm not
so
into it.
right. And I just like want to go to an all you can eat sushi place alone or just with my husband. And my husband would be like, but like, why? Like, why don't you want to spend time? And I'll be like, I just want to be alone. And so now he knows that. Like, he'll ask me, he'll be like, okay, for your special day, do you want to go be by yourself and like just go shopping and touch everything? Because my husband's also, he doesn't, he's very particular about his time. And so I'd be like, what are we getting? What are we doing? And I'll be like, I'm just here.
You're like, I just want to
Um,
meander. I just want to
exactly.
wander. Let's let
So
me let me just pick stuff up and spin it around and put it back
right.
down. Like,
But that's the type of stuff that you need to use in your financial goals. So like it doesn't have to be this formulaic thing. Ask yourself, what is it that you really would like to do, but you never let yourself do? And if it's something crazy like buy $1 million yacht, tell yourself no. Like I'm not going to do that.
we're
But
not
as
supporting
long
that.
as long as it's reasonable, I think that you can probably do that.
Yeah. Well, you've brought such lightness, I think, to a topic that feels very heavy to so many people. And I can see why your clients love working with you because you keep it real with them, you keep it direct, but you're also very in tune with their emotions and their energy around money. And that's the base of all of it. It's just how
Yeah.
we feel about it, how we associate with it, how we identify as it, which you've mentioned quite a few times.
Mhm.
We set that goal, we work towards it, and it's okay to spend money on ourselves. Like, I think the last thing I want to mention here is I know that you talk about being like toxic um, frugality.
Yeah.
I'm working on paying off debt, and therefore I can't spend any money on anything else, and especially
Yep.
not things that make me happy.
Yeah.
Defeats the entire purpose.
Yes. Yes, it does. And I think that many people would be really, really surprised at how much positive effects working on your money can have in your life. We just associate it with negative things. So we say, I want to pay off debt, therefore my life's going to get worse, right? I'm going to spend less, I'm going to work harder, I'm going to be more stressed. Or like, I want to be that person who starts investing, like, fuck, like, where am I going to find the money? Like, oh my God, like, I'm not going to be able to get my nails done. And I'd love to flip that on its head, because chances are, if you're not working on your money, it is not going everywhere you want it to go. I can tell you that for damn sure. Because if you on accident are living your most fulfilled financial lifestyle, like, I'd love to, I mean, hey, call me up, send me an email. I want to know, say like, listen, by accident, like I have no plan. I am just flying high. I don't think you exist. I think that the people who are flying high with their money are the people who have intentionally put the effort to do so, which means start asking yourself, what are the positive benefits that are going to come from my life when I start to look at money? Will I have more money to do the things I want to do? Will I feel less conflict with my spouse, right? Like, envision those positive benefits, because that's the part that most people aren't thinking about, which is why we don't start it, is because we're like, shit, my life's going to get worse. What if your life's going to get better? And in fact, I would bet you on it that the more that you work on your money, the better your life becomes, because you have more choices over what happens in your life. At the end of the day, money, it does not prove who you, it's not like who you are, but it gives you more choices in your life. And so if you want to have more choices and do more of what you want to do, at the end of the day, it comes down to working on your money.
Boom. That's where we're going to end it right there. I love it. Nicole, you are a fountain of energy and information. So I want to make sure everyone knows where to find more of your goodness. What's the best place to connect with you?
Yeah, if you're somebody who liked this style of talking about money, you can always find more of it on Instagram. That's where we're most active, at arise.financial.coaching. I have another amazing coach on my team full time. It is the two of us. We are coaching over 100 clients right now, and we would love for you to be one of them. And so if you want to talk to us about working one-on-one, you can always fill out an application on our website at arise.financial, and we can see if we're a good fit to be working together.
Perfect. We will link that in the show notes. And I'd love to know, what does gutsy mean to you, Nicole?
Gutsy means action. People be all about the talk. Nobody takes action. Gutsy is about taking action.
I absolutely love Nicole's take on creating financial safety and still enjoying your life. I mean, when you get in that restrictive mode and I can't do this and I can't do that, and well, once this happens, then I can do this. It's just not sustainable. You can really make a lot of progress and still enjoy your life while you're doing it. So if you needed that permission today, I hope that you heard that loud and clear. I'd love to hear what your number one takeaway was from this episode. Like, what was the one thing that really just resonated with you? DM me. You can come find me on all the social platforms. My handle is @thatlauraora. And as always, until I see you next time, stay gutsy.